So Brenda,
We're live.
oh, hi everybody, we live?
Yes, we're live right now. Yes, we are.
Awesome. All right, we let you do your thing, Levon. It's Levon's show. So you ready to go, Levon?
Yes, I'm ready. I'm trying to get the view right. So
Okay.
you know. So, all right, welcome back to the Woman Struggle to Experience radio show, where we're gonna have part 2 of our dynamic conversation that we started on last Saturday. We got 2 ladies on with us right now, and another one's hopefully will join us. We have Miss Focus James and Miss Brenda Warren joining us. So, hello, ladies. How y'all doing on this Saturday?
Doing well.
Oh, beautiful.
Wonderful. How was your week? As we closing on April, we're about to go into May. How was your last week of April?
Brenda?
My last week of April was really good. I'm excited about May because May is an opportunity for just doing some different things. So I'm looking forward to it.
All right, wonderful, wonderful. So what about you, Focus?
I'm excited about May because it's my daughter's birthday. So we've been booking up rooms, and I bought a vacation package while I was booking her room yesterday. So good got gooder when I was making plans for her birthday. So I'm excited about it.
Wonderful, excellent, excellent. We're gonna dive right in. So I had different questions to ask y'all this week. I know Focus was on last week, but the first one's people were the same in Focus, but new to Brenda. So I'm gonna have Miss Brenda go first, since she wasn't on last Saturday. The first question is, why did you decide to be part of this book, The Day-Daughter Dynamic, and why now?
I thought it would be a good opportunity to tell my story, and it was a project that was being offered by Focus James, and if Focus is doing something, I definitely want to be a part of it. It's time to get the word out about how I found forgiveness, self-love, and self-assurance, and this is a great opportunity to do that with this project.
Beautifully said, Brenda. Thank you. You humble me. Yeah, it's an amazing project. The more women, I've interviewed women beyond the 13 to see who would match and who have really good stories and got it, because you have to have a certain amount of healing to really share in this book, right? So that you can kind of get it out. And when other people read it, they empower it, right? But what we all found out is that we all needed even more healing when we started writing the chapter. So it was actually, the idea was brought to me by Adrienne Conyers Bay. She's actually one of my life coaches, and we were doing a books club. And she said, hey, I heard about this topic. What do you think? I said, I think you should do it. And I'm in too. So that's how it all generated. Now we have this amazing community also on our Facebook page, Daddy Daughter Dynamic, where we're chatting it up and keeping that conversation alive for healing.
Right. Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. So I'm bored. On the board. I just joined the Facebook page. Yeah. So I'm waiting for the mother-son dynamic. So because that's a profound topic, because relationships, but parents have with their children have a profound impact on how they are shaped as they get older, in the terms of the type of people that they choose to be around with, whether it's for friendship or dating relationships. So since your book is focused on healing and forgiveness, like Brenda said, my second question is, if you can remember anything, what qualities did you remember that you admired about your father?
Oh, well, my father, they talked about my father a lot. My father was, he had 9 siblings, and they talked about how competitive he was, that he loved to play chess and checkers. He created a band. It was the band leader, and he sang, he played a few instruments, right? So part of who I am. And it was also passed down to my son, who also created 2 bands, and he plays guitar and several instruments and sing. So yeah, definitely I can see myself being his blood is still running through my veins. So I can definitely see how we're still connected.
I would say I have a similar thing. My father was an amazing musician and an awesome singer, and his musicianship and his love of music is something that we shared. I love all types of music because I was exposed to everything from country, opera, rock. I love K-pop today, neo soul, R&B, jazz, love jazz. That was one of our favorites. So his love of all things music, I really always admired that about my dad.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Wonderful, wonderful. So sometimes then we go to the opposite of that question. A lot of times we go after the father for what they did, but we'll never go back in terms of the quality or the behavior they did. So my next question is, what qualities or behaviors that you didn't like about your dad growing up that you remember that you wish they could change?
Yeah, for me, the actual name of my book, my chapter in the book is called My Dad Died 4 Times. So he actually, I didn't find out, so I was like 30 something that he actually had 5 mental health diagnoses. So I really wish that the family had surrounded him and got him the resources that he needed, because I don't even think he was conscious of what it is that he actually needed, nor was that type of information really prevalent back in the day. Right now, they asked Oprah while she's on her mission to help people be more mindful of mental health, and she said she wanted to be just a normal word, like people say, I'm going to go get a pedicure and a manicure, I'm going to see my therapist, right? So we want to normalize it, but that's really what I wish he would have gotten, the support he needed, back then, because I don't think he was conscious, and nor was the family really conscious of what to do with what was going on with him. Mm-hmm.
I would say for me, it was my dad's mood swings. And I say it's something I inherited. You never knew when dad was going to love you or hate you. So the uncertainty that my dad created in my life is something that I always struggled with.
Yeah, and you spoke on about mental health. That your dad went through focus, and a lot of times at that time when he went through it, mental health was not normalized back then. It was more taboo. It was more like out there word. So, and people back then, social mental health, they're crazy or something's wrong, they have a screw loose. But now mental health is being more normalized, in the community, hopefully being more normalized by, like you said, Oprah, I'm going to see a therapist. I think that's something we need to adapt to our culture, especially as we get older, our parents get older. That's okay to get the help. It's okay to get a therapist. A lot of people still had that mentality that I don't need a therapist, but actually you do, because it's about changing perspective, about changing outlook on that. How therapy can help someone become better and evolve, and not
absolutely.
And go ahead. Oh,
I love that you said that, and the point that Brenda just made is just priceless. When you're raised up by a mom or dad, and you don't know what day of the week they're gonna love you or hate you or hurt you or kiss you, that just causes the instability. So for anybody that's listening right now, and if you're wondering, hey, I think me and my dad is cool, right? But if that's, part of the foundation of your relationship, this is why we're having this conversation, because some of us don't even know that it was rough. We think it's normal that our dad had mood swings, or in my case, that my dad would scream and holler, right? So we think that's normal. Oh, that's just what men do. They cheat, right? When there's a lot of healthy relationships out, but you don't know what you don't know. So as we're having this conversation and things start popping up for you, definitely come to our Daddy Daughter Dynamic Facebook page so we can help you discuss and, realize that. But it's so okay that this might sound a little off. You're like, well, aren't all dads moody? They stressed out. That's just how men are. No, it's not. Some of it is some mental health. Some of it is just not knowing how to manage our emotional intelligence. And if you go in looking for a man, a romantic partner like that, you're gonna have a kind of a rude awakening. And just because it's normal don't mean it's healthy. Am I right about it, Brenda? Just because it's normal?
Absolutely. But when you're brought up in an environment that has chaos, like it had when you get to be an adult, you can end up in relationships that have those same similarities and not even recognize that it's not unhealthy. So it took me many years of therapy and self awareness to begin to understand that relationships that reminded me of my childhood were not healthy for me, and that there was a proper way of communicating that did not require screaming, did not require cussing, did not require name calling, and definitely did not require you putting your hands on your partner. And that I would have to learn for myself, because although I knew that was unacceptable behavior, saddened to say that I relived that behavior by being in an abusive marriage.
Right.
But knowing that that was not healthy, I did exit stage right.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yes, and I'm glad we have this conversation. I'm glad that there's a group out here now that, because for one, you see a lot of young ladies growing up, like elementary school, middle school, high school, don't have a dad in their life. They have issues with their life. And we hopefully with this group that they can change the narrative for that now and address those issues with their fathers now while they're young, and don't have to carry that pain, that hurt into relationships that with people, men who generally want to be in their life. And so that's why we had to break the cycle, because I know a couple of girls I work with that they don't like their fathers. They're like 10, 11 years old. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, how we can break this norm now while they at that age. Yeah. So when they get 14, 15, 16 years old, it won't be growing resentment. It won't be growing hatred, or I can't trust my father. And they're trying to find love in the warm places and the warm men. So, so I think this is really good dynamic. I think there's a potential to break cycles and break curses and break things as they get older, especially young ladies that are growing up who may not have fathered their life, and also who haven't fathered their life, they're not present, for them. So, and also, in addition, a lot of men, sometimes you saw at home, they have mood swings, they have that, because we didn't think about what men they were dealing with every single day. Leave the house, they go to work, providing what things that will come throughout the day, or like how it's about what things they had to count throughout the day that made it feel a certain way. Maybe they stressed out from their job, stressed out from going to school, things, a lot of factors that go into a man's mindset to react. They think about that when they come home. The daughters, unfortunately, are recipient of that, instead of like having the conversation, hey, Dad, what's she going through? What's she dealing with? How's your day? You know what I mean? Like, why are you acting a certain way? Why are you acting a certain way? Because you never think about what the man who was provided at home had to deal with on a regular basis when they leave their house,
Yeah. Well, as a child, that's not their job, right? It's their wife to connect in touch base, right? But as a child, we don't want to parentify the children, right? Make them feel like there's some. It's important to be able to get your parents' point of view at a particular stage in your life, right? But 11, 12, that ain't your job, right? So we don't want to project that on children, but we can have empathy. We can look and see our dad walk in, and we can see his stress and go sit down somewhere, right? But for us to try to be like, how was your day? It's kind of a stretch, but it's okay to have the empathy of it, but not try to be the person they lean on. That's where he would need to seek therapy. Talk to a peer group himself, like Men Talk on, that you have here on tomorrow, which I invited a couple of my male clients to attend. I think iron sharpens iron, right? So allowing men to find their own community, because it's not going to come from your children. It can come from a certain level of support from your wife or your significant other, but he still needs his own pocket of who can I talk to as a man, right? Who can I release from as a man? And that's what we want to have that conversation. That's why men are definitely welcome in our Daddy Daughter Dynamic Facebook page, so that we can help you have a space to be heard by your woman. Because some women are like, you can just tell me, I'm your best friend. But some conversations need to be had among men, and we need to let men be men when that case when that happens. What do you think, Brenda?
I think that's important also, because the reality is when we have the things that LaVon was talking about how a man shows up in his daily life, if he doesn't have a partner that creates a safe space for him, he's not able to release maybe those pressures that would have him act a certain way towards any of his children. And having males that are his peers that he can vent to or talk to or discuss his issues with important. But we also have to acknowledge that I'm 59 years old. So back when I was coming up, my dad didn't have that because men were supposed to keep everything in strong. Men don't cry, men don't show weakness. Men now are just beginning to get to a place where they feel that they can even say that they're stressed or that they need help with support. And when we look at all the dynamics between the sexes, period, it's a lot. And I think that when you see the different stories within the book, and it's women of all ages, you can see the different levels of dynamics between the daughters and the fathers and how they were handled, how they navigated that forgiveness piece, that self-awareness and the self-love. And that can all be traced back to when the people were able to get support that maybe they weren't at certain times and certain periods of our existence.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah, that's a valid point too, because like you said, back in the day, the men, they had support groups and they had to mask their emotions or mask their vulnerability. But now it's more than ever now. There's so many groups out here that men can go to like Focus said, unleash those emotions, at least those stresses, those things that they're going for on a regular basis, and their partner is not a safe space they can talk to, or so sometimes men do need some other man can confide in, like women get that woman to confide in, so I think that's very important that we take care of ourselves mentally more than ever, amidst of the pandemic and amidst all that's going on the past 2+ years, so
absolutely.
It's very. So my next question was, how does relationship with your father affect relationships you had with men as you got older? What was it, a friendship or it led to a relationship?
Well, I'll take this one first. This time, my chapter is about trust. Trust no one. My relationship with my father led me to believe that men were not trustworthy. They weren't worth the time of day it took to call them men. And that was based on comments and statements and actions that I saw taking place. So it definitely affected my relationship with the opposite sex. And I've had to do a lot of work to not project my relationship and my hurt from my father onto the men in my life. And I would like to say I'm still a work in progress, because you can say or do the wrong thing and I'm triggered. That's just the truth. So I have to really have a conversation with self when I'm in relationship, which is why I've chosen not to be in one right now while I'm working on myself with a counselor to get the support and help to make sure that I can be whole and healthy and bring a better version of myself to the next relationship that I'm in.
I love that. I love that. And that's so important to know your season, right? Know your season, because if you walk into a relationship with an open wound, or attempt to date with an open wounds smell and they fester, right? They bring certain elements to them, right? A healthy person is not coming to a person with an open wound. You're going to have predators coming to you. So it's really necessary to know, where am I? Should I be dating right now, or should I be taking it, doing my healing process, right? Well, for me, I kind of neutralized all genders. So my father died when I was very young. I was 10 years old, and I became this superstar athlete, just trying to outdo everybody, outshine, to get heard and seen. And the way I would talk trash to a boy is the same way I would talk trash to a girl, right? I had no distinctions, because me and my brothers, we were competitive. My eldest brother won 40 some trophies and letters in all the sports he played. My brother in between us 50 some, and I topped them all, and I won 60 some trophies and VIP of the year, athlete of the year. So I had no distinction of how to dance a dance with a man as opposed to a female. So that definitely didn't work inside of relationships when I was dating, kind of early on. But my first real boyfriend, he was 6'9", but he was this beautiful giant, right? He played basketball, beautiful giant, such a good heart. So it was almost like God was giving me a chance to learn men in a safe place, right? And then I became this, pompous Christian. So I ended up breaking up with him because he wasn't saved. That was a whole nother how my company, The Focus of Love, got started. But what am I saying? I'm saying that without that dance prior to, that safe dance at home or that understanding, I was flipping coins and figuring it out, right? So it was really tough to know how to dance with a man, how to be soft and not constantly challenging him or trumping him, because that's what I did with my brother. So that was the only perspective I had, and I brought it inside the dating world. So that didn't work. When I was dating and engaged with a gentleman that I ended up marrying, and we were at a family function, and they were like, "Oh, don't you? Didn't you used to play ball?" I said, "Sure." And so I played him, who I was about to marry, and I spanked him. I threw the ball between his legs. I went up for a layup, and his whole family went off, and they joked him for years about that. Had I been trained well, I would have known not to do that to him. But to me, a competition is a competition. Let's go, right? I didn't know no better, and made it worse when we went to our honeymoon. And it was a resort where you play all these games. I spanked them in all these games. It was not a good honeymoon. Let me just say this, right? I didn't know what I did. No, I was only 18 years old, right? I was like, if it's a game, I'm going to win. Let's go. And I'm talking trash. It just didn't go well. Didn't go well at all.
Wow. I think that we like got closer together, have fun and laughing. This is a competition. It's not.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, Lavon, because depending on the type of couple and dance, you got to learn your significant other, right? For him, it was a wound. It made him feel small. It just didn't work for him. And I honestly, my son said when he was 25, after we've been divorced for many years, he's like, "Mom, how you and my dad even get together? Y'all not even compatible, right?" This is him as an adult knowing that. But we were 18 and 21. Again, back to your question, I had that fatherly relationship, I would know how to decipher, right? And be able to pick healthy relationships. Just didn't have that skill. So it was just like, hey, you want to buy me a house and get me out of my mama house? Let's go. Sound like a good deal to me, right? No judgment, no skill there. Yeah.
I think that's true, because I think that's about Brenda said about trust, trusting people, and trusting people just like issues with men. My wife had that issue. I know you talked to her about the issue with men, trusting men based on what she's seen happen in your life growing up. It has a profound impact on that, and you had to forgive and not put that next person compared to the person that people came behind you, because everyone is different. Everyone has a different story. So not everyone is the same person. Everyone has a different dynamic or individuality to them. And I think that's very important. And I'm dealing with that right now. Trusting people in terms of my business. So so I'm struggling with that right now, because even delegating or giving people responsibilities or ask for help. So that's something I'm dealing with, because that's something I need to hear from as well. So, so that's why I'm learning how to ask for help, in my business. Anything else, I can ask help before, but in terms of something that I created, that's hard for me to delegate. So that's based on past hurt. So that's why I've learned the process of letting go a little bit. It's
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, let's stick a pin in there for a second, Brenda. How were you able to overcome that, and what do you say to our audience when it comes to that daddy-daughter dynamic? Your trust is shot. How do you build up that trust? And dad might not even be around to like start there, but how do you build that trust?
The first thing was to create a better relationship with my father. So before his passing, he has transitioned. Before that, we were able to build a relationship where we were able to build a level of trust so that we could talk about some of the things and some of the hurts that I had. And through therapy, like I said, introspection, reflection, learning to trust my own self, because it also affected my trust of self, trust of my decisions, trust of how I showed up. Once I worked through those processes, I was able to get to a place where I could trust. I feel like I've done the work now. I feel like I'm in a place where I could come into a relationship whole. And I know that will happen, but I'm not rushing for that right now. I just know that I've done the necessary work to be able to trust another person and to show up and be a supportive person without being competitive, allowing my feminine to show and not take a more masculine posture, because I've always felt that I had to protect me.
Yes. Oh, that's juicy right there. So protective, in that site. And that was what it was for me, trusting myself and really trusting humans to be human. I think, if somebody's taking a note, trust humans to be human. What we're really not trusting is that they won't live up to our expectation, which is very different. So if we walk in, I'm dating a guy, he must open the door. I definitely want mine to as well, right? But what I'm stating is that doesn't make him condemned and not a worthy candidate because he doesn't open the door. What it makes him is possibly unlearned, distracted, didn't know no better, right? So you can ask for what you want still and go, I would love if you open the door with me. It makes me really feel protected and cared for. Because guess what, ladies, they're gonna have to teach us some stuff too. And I'm not talking about a Build-A-Bear, but many of us have different issues that comes up once we get in a relationship. So we can feel really solid when we're single. Then we get in that relationship, all kinds of stuff start popping up. And as Brenda so beautifully shared, she gets triggered. We all get triggered. So no matter what level of work you do, you did the work when you get triggered and know you're triggered, right? because if you don't know you're triggered, then that work still need to be done. But to know you're triggered and go, oh my God, this is, I'm on 10. How did I get to 10? Oh, because, right? And then be able to count yourself back down. So it's not like nothing's bad or upsetting will ever happen again. It's just now you're more aware of it and you got skills to deal with it, walk through. You got the ability to apologize. You got the ability to humble yourself and self-correct is what this healing walk is about. So when we talk about that, it's not a one and done, right? It's an evolution. So I just wanted to, kind of say that part, out loud. Mm-hmm.
I think it's also important here. I want to note something, because when you said about opening the doors, because a lot of people associate opening car doors and doors for a lady of a man being a gentleman. And when I see that, for me personally, I saw my father open every car door and open every house door and do all the stuff. So yeah, he was a perfect gentleman, but he slapped her through those doors. So, when you say you got to know what you want and what works for you, that's an important part of the equation of learning to trust yourself and what feels organic for you. Some women would say, I need a man that opens doors. And for me, my thought was, a man open the doors, he about to slap me through it. And that's part of why that is why this book, The Daddy-Daughter Dynamic, is so important for starting the conversation. Because as you read the 13 different stories in this book, each woman shows her perspective in the things that she went through. And what I would really love to say is that this is not a book about shame or blame or being a victim. This is a book that is a conversation starter, and we're simply each sharing our stories from our perspective of how we were resilient enough to come to the other side. And we're all hoping that each of our stories will start a conversation that will get other women saying, I can make the shift as well. If you're still sitting in your pain, or if you're moved past it, that you'll begin to share your story with someone else so that someone else can come out of pain.
Yes, I love that, because there's so many ways to come out of pain. There's so many ways to heal, so many different experiences. So it's not a one and done. I love that you said that. So for even those that are going to read the book and go, oh, good, I got through that part. Well, thank you, first of all, for reading, and then jump on that Facebook page and tell us, how did you get through, right? Because we might have took the long road, right? If there's a shorter road, if you will, or a different way to look at it, because there's so many experiences out there. We want to give everybody a way to speak that, because when you overcome by your testimony. So the more you say it, you speak it in your life, and it gets more complete. Thanks for saying that, Brenda. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wonderful. That was wonderful. Well said. And I enjoyed everything y'all ladies said. I have one more question before we wrap up. So the last question is, what was the most important lesson or lessons you learned from your day?
What was the most important lesson?
I would say for me, self-motivation. because I learned at a very young age that if it was to be, it was up to me. So although I'm not necessarily very happy the way the lesson was taught, what my father put in me was a fire to be the best and let nothing stop me. That's why I tell people I'm unapologetically unstoppable, because although his methods were not the best, I was very clear from a very young age that there was nothing I wasn't capable of if I put my mind to it.
Beautiful, beautiful framing. For me, I would definitely say get help. The lesson I got from him was get help. And you don't get to throw up on everybody else because of your own wounds. You don't get to mess up other people's lives because of your own wounds. I don't get to go, well, that's just who I am, right? Not that he said that. I'm expanding on that lesson, right? Recognizing he did not get the help. And because he didn't get the help, it affected so many people in his life, right? So for me, my takeaway is focus, get the help. So that's why I have a therapist. That's why I have a life coach, right? I consult with financial coaches, right? I take courses, right? I stay very conscious because you know, a coach can't coach yourself, right? You can't see the picture if you're in the frame. So I also recognize that I can't get high and highfalutin on myself and my achievements and not, you know, have that iron sharpening iron, right? Somebody checking me. And Brenda's awesome with that, with this whole book process. And thank you, Brenda. She's been such a pivotal, author, getting feedback from her because she's written multiple books. So I'm so humbled that she's on this project. She gave us our first samples of the cover. She gave us our subtitle and just really supported. And I think that's one of the things that humbles me when I think about my father's relationship, right? Like, how can we create a village that we have checks and balances so nobody's getting lost? And I think that's part of what happened to my father. He got lost because no one knew how to help him. So I'm like, can you check this? Can you read this? You know, can you proofread that? What do you think about this? I have no problem running something by someone so that I don't get lost. Because what does it profit that I would help all these women get healed and I'm over here miserable or hurting, right? So as much as he made great music and made people laugh a lot, yet he was hurting and in pain. So I'm really mindful of that. Brenda, were you going to add to that?
No, you said everything, as far as how we got support. When he said, what did you get? Mine, like I said, just I'm unapologetically unstoppable. And I can truly trace that back to my father.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Wonderful. That was excellent. So, ladies, do you have any final words you want to say before we close up today?
Brenda?
I'll close like I always do. The choices you make today will be the reality you live tomorrow. Choose wisely.
Choose wisely. Oh, I love that. Yeah, we just want to say thank you again for your time, Lavon. Everyone is listening. If you're listening to it on the replay, #replay, so we know that you heard this. And we're going to include the link of our Daddy Daughter Dynamic Facebook page as well. So you can come on and join us, join this community, keep this conversation going. We got Mother's Day and Father's Day going. That's about to happen. And this is where a lot of people need support whose parents have transitioned, right? And all these types of memories that we're talking about right now comes up for a lot of people. And you can't even not deal with it. It's in every CVS and Rite Aid, Mother's Day, and every commercial, right? So lots of people get triggered right now. I get emergency calls as a love and life coach that they need to talk to me right now. And sometimes people don't even aware that right now the angst that their mother or father passed is bleeding into their relationship because there's so much still festering and they didn't deal with, right? So come and get connected to our community. Know that you're not alone. This is something to process because if you're on this earth, you had a mom and a dad, and there's something to flesh out. And if you are a parent, your children too probably be in therapy, right? Because we all are trying to figure this out and do the best that we can. So get as much support as you can. And the book will be coming out soon, and you'll be able to stay, in the know when it's going to be released in that community as well. So thank you so much for having us, Lavon. If you want to keep the conversation going, you can also join us Clubhouse on Monday. We'll also be there chatting it up on everything relationships.
Yes, like you said, they meet on Clubhouse every Monday by the Daddy Daughter Dynamic. Be on the lookout for their book, The Power 13. Also, keep join the Facebook group for to get to learn from each other, to share your story, and just come together as a community, because we are all in the process of healing, some way, some shape, or form. So it doesn't matter what stage you are at. It's okay to be healed. It's okay to be delivered, to be set free, you know, because all of us need one another. And because we are our brothers and sisters keeper, we have responsibility, obligation to help one another. So help one another to grow, to evolve, and to manifest, to become their best selves and continue on the path to the greatness that you already are. So ladies, thank you so much. It's an honor to interview you the past 2 Saturdays. I learned a lot from being just a son, you know, just what you experienced, and then you know, and just knowing that all of us have a story, but all of us have overcomers, and all of us have a story that are similar or different, but all of us make us the way we are today, based on how we grew up and how it affected our lives. So thank you so much for those who are watching Facebook on the replay, Instagram Live, who watch the replay. Please share the video, comment. Like I said, join the Dane Dynamic Facebook, like the group, subscribe to the group, and a comment, you know, so you will be acknowledged to join the group. So you will get acknowledgement that for joining. That's a big thing, because you want to feel welcomed, you know, because just because you joined, that means you feel welcomed and feel accepted. So again, ladies, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of Saturday, and just continue to be great, and enjoy this last Saturday, April. Thank y'all so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. Bye, everyone.